Hi everyone, it's Bobby of Knitter's Niche. You know what? I gotta see what the date is. Hang on. Oh my gosh, don't look at my roots. I'm sorry, it's not Florence, it's Florencia. Boy, what a mess. What a mess. What a mess. Okay, you know what? It's gonna take me 4 or 5 times to get this straight. I do know that. You know, that's just a pattern for me, but once I get going, there's no stopping me. Okay, here we go. I am really tongue-tied today. I don't know why. Okay, try again. I've got to stop saying talk about. I think everybody else does. Right? I don't know. I got to remedy this somehow. There's more words to say. Hi everybody, it's Bobby of Knitter's Niche. Welcome to my bonus room. Today is August 15th, 2023. We're getting close to fall. As you can see behind me, fall is coming. And I'm really excited about that. It gives us the opportunity to switch up from those fingering weight sweaters that we have been knitting, the fingering weight tanks that we have been knitting, and get into some of that DK weight yarn, some of that sport weight yarn, or worsted, or even maybe chunky or bulky yarn. So today I'm going to be talking about using those yarns, those fall and winter yarns. I have chosen 3 patterns, 3 garment patterns and 1 accessory pattern to talk about today that I think would be great knits for this season coming up. You know, as fall's coming, the new season of knitting is coming. Not only is it coming, the new season of knitting, it has begun. It's beginning, everybody. So let's stay ahead of the next season. First day of fall, I think it's September 20th. So let's go ahead and get those thicker yarns out, those little bit bigger needles out, and get going on our fall knitting. Here's what we're talking about. We're talking about cardigan. We're going to look at a pullover, a long sleeve pullover, and we're also going to take a look at a slipover, which is also called a vest. We call it a vest in the United States, a slipover pattern. And the last thing I'll talk about that has to do with cables or any textured fall item is going to be a pair of socks. And they're done in a worsted weight. So let's take a look at Winters Beach Cardi by Andrea Mowry. This is the pattern I purchased, and I had purchased this. It was her birthday week, and she had a discount code that you can use. And I think that's expired by now, but I did purchase that with her discount code. In the Winter Beach Cardi, it is an open front cardigan, which is knit from the bottom up. Now the pockets that you see are placed while knitting the sweater, which gives it a beautiful finish. And when you talk about cables, you kind of automatically go into the mind of a tweed yarn. So she recommends using a tweed yarn if you can. She has knit this one with Hedgehog's tweed yarn. And if that's a yarn that you can't use or can't afford or can't find, whatever, if you scroll down on her pattern in Ravelry before you purchase it, where it has all the details, you'll scroll up, which will bring you to the bottom of it, and she'll have 5 different options for yarn and 5 different price points for yarn. So that's a really nice feature that she has on her patterns, and I really appreciate that, and I'm sure you all do too. So that's the Winter Beach Cardi. I think this will be a great knit. It's done in DK. The needles that you use are US number 8, which are 5.0 millimeter needles, and also a US 6, which is a 4.0 millimeter. Well, let's go on to the storm sweater. This is the pullover that I'm suggesting to knit this fall. It'll take you right into winter. It's new. It's by Petite Knit. It's knit in a DK weight yarn. The yarn that she suggests using is the Sandnes Garn Pure, is it pronounced Gynt? Gynt. And the needles sizes that are used are the 4.0 millimeter, which is size 6 US, and 3.5 millimeter, which is size 4 US. And the storm sweater is worked top down in a textured pattern, which has 4 segments. It is designed to have 10¼ inches or 26 centimeters of positive ease. Like I said, this is a new one by Petite Knit. It's beautiful, it's long sleeved, and it has, you know, that's 10 inches of positive ease. So it's a little bit fuller, a little bit boxier sweater, as you can see from the photos that I've inserted here. So that's the second choice I have, a possibility to knit this fall and winter. Now the third one I have chosen to discuss with you is the Drifting Waves Slipover. Well, it's a vest. We call them a vest in the United States. It's also knit with a DK weight yarn. It is by Aneta, Aneta, A-N-E-T-A, Bleyer, B-L-E-Y-E-R. The needles are US size 5, 3.75 millimeter, and US 3, 3.25 millimeter needles. It's a classic slipover with a V-neck in the front, a sequence of ribbed cables, and thoughtful details which give it a special touch. It's knit top down and is completely seamless. And the nice thing about this pattern, I haven't purchased it yet, but it does say it has charts, which is good, and video tutorials. So if you get stuck, I'm a visual person on how to do something. I can read it and see, but if I have a video tutorial to look off of too to watch, that's even better. So I have 2 different ways of learning and 2 different ways of understanding how to knit this pattern. Now the fourth pattern that I had mentioned that it's an accessory, and it is a pair of cabled socks. Now these socks are the Magic Heel socks in worsted weight. And these are by Judy Jewel. I have test knit for her before, and I have discussed the Magic Heel sock pattern with you previously, but this is the worsted weight, and this is done in cables, and I'm going to put pictures up here so you can see different pictures of the socks. These will be nice and cozy, warm socks to wear, and I really, really love knitting cables. I have a cable sweater behind me. It was a test knit that I had done, and I'll put the name of it down here below and the name of the designer. This is, let's see if I can get this down here, a cable sweater. It has cables coming down the front. It's a cardigan, and also down the sleeves. And I can slip this on for you so you can take a look at it. This was really, really a nice one. I had knit this. I'll show you the yarn too. Let me go ahead and slip it on. Oh, this is so soft. It's actually knit with a premium acrylic yarn, and it is Cascade. It is the Cherub Chunky yarn. And let me see about the needle size on this. It's a US 10, which is a 6.0. Well, I'm sorry. US 10 to 11 you can knit this with. It was knit with a US 10, I do remember that, which would be a 6.0 millimeter needle. It's 55% nylon and 45% acrylic, so it is a premium acrylic yarn, and it is so soft. It has not pilled, it has not fuzzed up, it has not gotten thin in any areas. It's beautiful. It's so cute. It's so cute. And it's longer in the back than in the front. It has a split hem, and I'll put a picture in here so you can see the side of it. I'm not positive if that's how you pronounce the cardigan, but this yarn is a very economical yarn. Now, it says on here the sticker is $5.60. See there? $5.60 US dollars. And I had purchased this a couple years ago, so it might have gone up. And the yardage on this is 136.7 yards, which is 125 meters. So I had bought all that she had. Now, I had bought that in a little town by us, and it was at a needlepoint shop. And the needlepoint shop has since closed, and she had that marked half off. So this was really, really quite a bargain. So this is one of the patterns too that I would suggest knitting, the Millo sweater, M-I-L-L-O sweater. I did knit it knit it a little bit longer so it would come down on my hand. So if I could go like this if I'm chilly. But this is one of my very, very favorite test knits that I have done. And I should probably talk about what I'm wearing. I am wearing the Salty Air Tee by Megan. I'll put it down here below. And I knit this with linen quill yarn. And the color of yarn I used is called Pale Mushroom. It's 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. And at linen quill is a fingering weight yarn. There's 439 yards on a skein of this. So you can tell that's a light fingering weight yarn. And US 2 through 5 needles. But anyway, I had knit this, and I'll put the name of the designer here down below. The Salty Air Tee. And it is a crop sweater in a short sleeves, which you saw earlier. Beautiful lace yoke that goes all the way around with short rows in the back to lift up the back of the neck. So I'm going to keep this sweater on. It really feels good. It really feels good. It's got all these yummy cables in it, and that's what I'm looking forward to, is doing all these textured knits for this fall and just nice, warm, and cozy feelings. Okay, so let's talk about what's on my needles. Here's what I've done, y'all. I have, count them, three fingering weight sweaters on my needles, 3 of them. And you know about 2 of them. Have I cast? I don't believe I'd cast on the Florencia tee. I don't think I'd cast that on in my last podcast, so I'm going to go ahead and start with that one first. The Florencia tee is by Claudia. I will say she has Claudia Q on here. It's from Uknit, EWEKNIT. Uknit is based in Toronto. It's in Canada, and this is what I have done so far. And you know, I had little needle stoppers on the bottom, and I've had them for a very long time, and these were the older ones, and they stayed on the ends really, really well. Well, one went flying, so I'm still yet to find that. So I don't have my needle stoppers on here, but I am, let me take and show this to you. This is a geometric lace, and it is so, so pretty. It's a crop sweater. It's knit from the bottom up, as you can see. And the yarn, whoops, let me get that thread out of the way. The yarn I'm using, here we go, is a wool and cotton blend. It's such a pretty color. It's a mauve color, but almost kind of leaning toward a lavender, a light purple color. So let me go ahead and grab these. And I was gifted this yarn, which was so nice, from Uknit. They had contacted me, their social media manager contacted me and asked if I would like to participate in promoting their knit along. In last podcast, which would have been episode 18, I let y'all know about a 50% discount for the pattern. And I gave you a discount code, and the discount code, and you certainly can still use it, the discount code is FLOR, which you need to do through Ravelry. So when you go onto Ravelry, make sure you're logged in so you can purchase the pattern. Go ahead and hit purchase, and then there's a place for the discount code to go. You want to put FLOR, and it will take the price 50% off of your pattern. And it is just a beautiful knit. And like I said, it's knit from the bottom up. And then what you do, well, the very first thing you do in the pattern, you knit your sleeves first. You put them on waste yarn or on a stitch holder, and you set them aside. And then you go ahead and you start on the bottom, and the bottom has a 3-inch ribbing. Now, I've chosen to do the half twisted rib on mine. It's really pretty. There again, I'm showing the back. Now this is hand-dyed yarn. Oh, let me tell you a little more about the yarn. It's Amelia and Filomeni. And it is just a gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. The makeup of the yarn, oh, here you go. Show that to you. Isn't the color pretty? Like I said, it's almost a mauve, but it's a lavender tone, but a beautiful color, a real neutral lavender tone. It is a fingering weight. It's 400 meters and 100 gram skein. It is 50% merino superwash and 50% cotton. And you know, a lot of times when you knit with cotton, we kind of talked about it last episode, you know, they want to split. These natural fibers want to split. This has not at all. And I have knit, let me show you how much I have left of the first skein. I'm right here with the first skein. And this is how much I have done. So I'm almost ready. I'm going to finish this sequence of the lace triangle. I'm going to finish that one, and then I'm ready to go ahead and split and then add the sleeves on, and then go on up for the raglan shaping. I don't know. Let me put some pictures here, and you'll be able to see a little bit more about the sweater and what it looks like. The pictures I have in this particular, when you print it off, there's just a couple pictures in there, and it doesn't show the beautiful raglan coming straight up here. And you continue to do those lace triangles. And of course, this has not been blocked yet, but once this is blocked, you talk about gorgeous. And you know, can you see, I don't know if I can stretch it out enough, as you're doing the triangles, it's like you can see the diagonal line. So when you do your beginning of round, you know, you mark your beginning of round like you normally would, and then you go ahead and do that full triangle sequence. And once you do that, and those are 8 rows, 8 rounds, once you complete that, now your next beginning of round, you are going to have to go back 5, and it tells you, it's really easy to do with your stitch marker. Therefore, what's happening when you do that, when you change that first beginning of round, your lace triangles aren't ending up right on top of the other. Can you see how they're over one? So would I say this is for beginner? I would not say this is for beginning. They actually said, it actually says advanced beginner. And I've been knitting, well, let's see here. I'm 64, and I want to say I started knitting probably, it's getting close to 30 years maybe. Let's say 25, 26 years I've been knitting. And I really had to think on this one. I really did. But I'll tell you what, I'm moving along with this, and this is a lot of work I had done in a short amount of time, and because it's a fingering weight. Now the needle size here, kind of got a rough throat here, I apologize. My voice is getting a little gruff. The needle size is US 3 and US 4. So that would be US 3, which is 3.25 millimeter, and then the US 4 is 3.5 millimeter. So of course you're using the smaller needle for your ribbing. And I did the half twisted rib. I love a twisted rib. I think it gives such a professional look. So that's the first thing that's on my needles, okay? My first of 3 fingering weight sweaters. So I want to get that done, and to let you know, this yarn is just amazing. And go on to Uknit at Uknit, EWEKNIT. Go on to their website. They have kits for every pattern, several patterns. I shouldn't say every. Kits, all kinds of kits, different yarns. And thank you for being my yarn support on that, for gifting me with the yarn to help promote your knit along. And I've joined the knit along too. Go ahead and look in there, and you'll see my photos of me knitting as I knit my sweater, my Florencia sweater. Okay, the second sweater I have on my needles. Things are flying off here. The second one I have on my needles is the Misurina. And I showed you that earlier. It is just, okay. Now, I showed it to you last podcast. And the Misurina is by Caitlin Hunter. And Caitlin Hunter calls her company Boyland Knits. So it's Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knits. And I'll put some pictures of it on here, better pictures. I had printed this off. I probably had this printed off a couple years. And you can see when I printed off, my printer was running out of ink. So, but that's the Misurina, and here we go. And I showed it to you before. Now, the last time you saw this, I had used a different color yarn for the for the contrasting color here. So I've come back and used a different color. It is by the same yarn company. This is by Ginger Snap Yarn, and they're based in Canada. But you can see the lace work here, which goes into this beautiful little cable. Isn't it sweet? It's so sweet. So I haven't gotten too far along with that because I changed the color work yarn. It was the gray, and I changed it to this one. It had the gray and it had some speckles in it, and it just seemed like as I was knitting around, it was like it wasn't standing out like I thought it should. And I don't think I have it in. I don't, but here you go. Here's the company. It is Ginger Snap. And this is done with a fingering weight yarn. Now this has 463 yards, so it is a thinner fingering weight yarn. So this is going to be on my needles probably for a while because I have got another one on my needles. Now, it is called the Alpine Bloom Sweater, and it is also by Caitlin Hunter. And the colors I have chosen and the yarns I have chosen we've discussed previously, but this is it. And it has the lace cuff, the lace neckline, and then lace cuff on the sleeves. Now, I'm going to talk about a little something else about this in my next segment. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to kind of go over where I'm at there. And here we go. Now, here it is. And I was really worried about the yarn being too thin, the main color of yarn. And this is the main color of yarn that I am using. This is the company. It is called Yarn Cafe Creations. And she's based in the United States. And this is a fingering weight yarn, and this has 437 yards. So it is a little bit more plump yarn than the yarn I'm using for my Misurina. And last week I had said I'm basing it on my hydrangeas. So I'm going to put some pictures of here of my hydrangeas. And these are just the same color as my hydrangeas right now because they were white and then they turn into this beautiful, beautiful color. But there's my color work. And my color work here is Spin Cycle yarn. And this is it. This has some green in it. And there's going to be some white in there. Very, very pretty. And this is one still in the skein. So I decided to go ahead and use the Spin Cycle yarn to do the Alpine Bloom. Now, if I work it right, I might be able to get by with one skein. And then if I can have the other skein, I could do something else with that Spin Cycle. Now, that yarn is pricey. It is very pricey. So I'm really trying to use it sparingly. I could even come back with the with another color when it does the larger flowers. I talked about this before. With a larger flower here, see that? I could actually come back and possibly use, let me get this out of the way here. It fell on the floor. I have some Brooklyn tweed yarn. I pronounce it Peerie, P-E-E-R-I-E, and it is in the color Thaw. And this is it. What I could do on that flower to save on the Spin Cycle is I could come on that bigger flower and use this. And I'm really thinking about doing that. But there again, you guys, this is going to be a long process because again, it is fingering weight yarn. And I've got a lot of things on my needles. A lot of things on my needles. So those are the three things, 3 whips that I have. Working away on those, but I still want to cast on something for fall though. I want to get into these DK weights or sport weight or worsted weight yarns and really start some fall projects because you know that new knitting season is beginning right now. right now. So the next segment we're going to talk about is, let me pick up my little notebook here, is viewers' comments. I had some comments from viewers, and we're going to talk about some of the comments that we had, and thank you all so much. And you know, this podcast, this morning when I got up, so let's see, is it 12 days today? 12 days right now, I think, since I uploaded. It's going to be 13 here in just a little bit. 13 days since I had uploaded the episode number 18. And I have over 25,000 views. So thank you all so much for viewing. Thank you all for your wonderful comments and for liking my videos. It has helped tremendously. It's really helped other knitters be able to see my podcast. And I'm getting some great comments. I appreciate that. I truly, truly do. I just get tickled when just to read them and hear and see what you're working on, and then I look them up, and then I put them in my favorites in Ravelry. So thank you all so much. So let's talk about the comments that we had. And viewers' comments. Here's one that I'm going to discuss. It's going to be about the Alpine bloom, and this was really a very, very good question. Her name is Doris, Enderle, Enderle, 5857. She says, this is regarding the Alpine bloom, about the lace on the sleeve. She says, okay, because here's what happens with the lace on the sleeve. I'm going to put another photo. I talked about this last episode. When you knit this lace, you will go ahead and you will knit down, you do all your color work, splits for sleeves, and then you're going to do some stockinette stitches here. Then you're going to put them on hold, okay? You're not going to do the cuff straight off the sleeve like that. You are going to knit this cuff area, this lace cuff is going to be knit separately, and then you're going to come back and you're going to graft it on with a Kitchener stitch. So what, Doris had a good question. She says, well, why not just turn the lace chart upside down and just knit it on the sleeve? Just to go ahead and continue leaving your stitches, these stitches on the needles, not taking them off and not putting on hold, going ahead and going straight into it, but just do the chart upside down. Well, in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't know if it's going to work because there's a double center decrease, and what a double center decrease does when you're knitting it, it will form this V like this. So, well, excuse me, it's this way. It will form it this way as you're knitting, because it's wider at the top and then coming down. So when it's wider at the top, it's going to give you a curve. And this, all right, when you do the collar, if you can see here, you're doing a long tail cast on and you're going straight into the lace. In the center, there's the spine of the center double decrease. And see how that brings that up and gives it a curve. So what I did, I answered Doris and I said, wow, what a great idea. I said, I'll try it. And her reply was, oh, I hope it works out. Let me know how it goes, maybe on the next show, which means the next podcast, the next episode. So I did it. I did it, and it doesn't work, and I will tell you why. And I wondered, and I think she probably did too, but she said, why not just give it a go and try? So I knit, cast it on in the 72 stitches. That would have been for the smallest sleeve. I cast that on, and this is the cast on area here. And I did ribbing, and the only reason I did ribbing on the top is to stop it from rolling. It would have rolled, and I would have been able to show it to you. So kind of disregard the ribbing on the top. So then I knit some stockinette, and then it goes straight in, because I'm doing it from the bottom up. I'm flipping the chart and did it the opposite way to get this going. So this is the sleeve. It's still attached to the sleeve area here. Well, that center double decrease, when you do it that way, see, it throws the curve, and see how it caused the eyelet? Because you purl, then you do the eyelet stitches, and then you purl again, and then you go into the next lace, which is the center double decrease, and it throws it and makes that curve. It makes it curve because it's like this. If you can see the V's here, and they're going up and out, so it gives this curve at the top. And then I went ahead and did it exactly like it said, except for it says 8 repeats of this area. Well, that makes the lace like this, and it wasn't gonna change it anyway. It wasn't gonna change the answer that we were looking for. So I did 4 repeats instead, and then it says purl, which I purled the next round, and then I did a purl. I stayed in sequence, and I just did a purl bind off. I bind it off in a purl stitch and this would be the bottom of your cuff. So no, you're not getting the scallop on the bottom if you just flip it and continue knitting your sleeve, if that makes sense, if I'm explaining that correctly. So in order to get the scalloped edge, you do need to put the stitches on hold and then come back and start and just knit your lace separately, and then come back and graft them together with the Kitchener stitch. This was a very good question. I will say, Doris, very good, because you know, anytime that we hear, at least me, anytime that I hear, oh my gosh, you have to graft it, you have to use Kitchener, I'm like, oh brother. But you know, I did it in the Pearl Soho dumpling bag I discussed 2 podcasts ago. I did the Kitchener for that, for the handles of the bag, and it really turned out nice. It's not that I can't do it. It's just I'm like, oh brother, you know, and I like to sew, hand sew. I used to hand sew when I was young. Little things for my dolls and stuff. So I do know how to hand sew. It's like sewing. Kitchener's just like sewing, putting 2 pieces together and keeping that knitted stitch going. Okay, so that is, let's talk about 2 other viewer questions, comments. And Hannah, HP7676, and this is regarding the Sandnes Garn Lena that I talked about last podcast, saying that's my absolute favorite cotton blend yarn, and I still say that. She says, Hannah, I will give a plug for Wool & Company based in Illinois, which is the United States. They have a large line of Sandnes Garn yarn, including Lena. Fast, free shipping. Oh my goodness. And she also goes on to say that she has been knitting for 40 plus years and is knitting the Novice cardigan by Petite Knit. And that is a popular cardigan. I have seen a lot of people have knit that. And she says, which is suitable for a beginner. So she recommends the Novice cardigan by Petite Knit, and I'll put a picture in here. She recommends knitting that for a novice, for a new knitter. A new garment, a new sweater knitter. Yeah, very nice. Okay, I also have a comment that I'm going to talk about here. It's at Sarah, S-A-R-A, 8503. She says, I am watching this as I am knitting the Magna Flora with Rowan cotton cashmere on size 9 needles. She says, I like this as well as the ranunculus, and I will be knitting the Ela soon. I believe it's pronounced phonetically E-E-L-A-H, Ela, and I was pronouncing it wrong, and I had some wonderful viewers just let me know how to pronounce that correctly, and thank you so much. I love that. If I'm pronouncing something wrong, or if I misspeak or anything like that, just let me know, and I really do appreciate that, and I will let you know in the comments how much I appreciate that, and thank you. But anyway, she says that she likes the Magna Flora pattern just as well as the ranunculus. Okay, so I'm going to put a picture up here of the Magna Flora, and I have put that in my favorites in Ravelry, so I want to do that sometime, probably next spring or summer. And then she goes on to say, give me all the lace yoke sweaters, exclamation mark. And you know what? I am right there with you. And the Magna Flora, I looked it up on Ravelry. It's by Alisa Hartzel, H-A-R-T-Z-E-L. It has a circular yoke. Flower-inspired sweater. It is a flower-inspired sweater. It's in worsted weight. And the pattern excuse me, the designer had knitted, suggest the Sandnes Garnlina, which we know is my favorite cotton blend. Okay, well, I think that's everything we're going to talk about today. I appreciate you all. And again, you can still get 50% off. Sorry about messing with my hair. I can see it in the phone here, and I'm letting it grow. And I have calyx, so the back will stick out or something. So I'm messing with it, and I shouldn't be doing that while I'm filming. So I apologize for that. But anyway, just letting you know, you can go on to Ravelry, look up the Florencia, and where's she at? Here she is, Florencia. If you want to go ahead and purchase the pattern, you can still use the code, the discount code, to get 50% off, FLOR, and get your 50% off. Go ahead and cast on. It's a bottom up. Now, again, I would recommend that to an experienced knitter. Definitely an experienced knitter to knit that. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. Please subscribe. So next time I put a podcast out, you'll get a notification. It's free to subscribe. Fall's just around the corner, and remember that new knitting season has begun. It has begun. So let's get to knitting those nice heavier weight sweaters and accessories. Thank y'all. You have a great, great day. And I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.